Hi, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to take a moment to welcome you all to our presentation of CloudTestr, an enterprise test automation platform from Cineratech that is helping organizations cut release validation times of their Oracle applications by 50%. Leading today's call is Lavanya Salagundala, Head of Test Engineering at Cineratech, and Art Devereaux, Director of Quality Engineering at Cineratech. We'd like to ask, feel free to ask questions during the presentation in the chat window, but we're going to hold off addressing those until the Q&A portion. Without further ado, we'd like to get started. Today we'd like to cover quickly a little bit the agenda. We're going to cover what to look for when customers or clients have decided to move to the cloud or cloud SaaS applications, the pros and cons of Oracle Cloud applications and continuous delivery. What are your options to confidently navigate the cloud world? We're going to cover a customer case study with continuous automated testing, test automation as a service for Oracle Cloud applications. We'll do a quick demo of the CloudTestr platform, and then we'll leave time for some Q&A. So without further ado, I give you Lavanya Salagundala.
Thanks, Art. Hi, everybody. So we want to start with talking about you've decided to move to cloud, or you are on the journey of moving to cloud, or you've already moved to cloud. So what is it so different with cloud SaaS applications versus the on-prem applications that you've been used to? The two main things that you should be looking out for in terms of change. One is the change management process. It's going to be very different from what you're used to. Previously, when you are on-prem, the infrastructure is yours, the release cycles are decided by your team, what goes into a release is decided by your team. But in the new cloud world, all this is being provided by your cloud provider, right? It's their infrastructure. They decide when the release cycles are, whether it's going to be monthly, quarterly, 3 times a year. All that is decided by the cloud provider, and also what goes into each release, whether it's fixes that are going in, whether they're enhancements that are going in, or any new features that are getting delivered, are all decided by your cloud provider. So the lack of control of things that you used to previously have control is a huge paradigm shift for a lot of our customers adopting to cloud, and not planning for that is turning out to be a challenge. I'll give you an example. If previously, if there were any changes that you've made and you pushed into production and you find issues, you could roll back those changes. But now, with the cloud provider making these changes, if you're taking any quarterly patches, your test pod is updated by them. You get about 2 weeks or so to do the testing. And then whether you've tested it, whether you've made sure everything is looking good on your end, it still goes into production at the scheduled time. So there are no rollback options if you find any issues later on after it goes into production, and you'll have to live with it for a period of time. So adjusting to it and planning for it is one of the main things that you would think about when you're moving to cloud SaaS application. The second part of it is, again, tied to this, but it's more of a continuous delivery model that you get. When you're on your on-prem systems, you used to decide when you want to do patching, when you want to do security updates, when you want to upgrade to a newer version, and all was determined by you. But with cloud, it's great that you're able to get continuous delivery every month, every quarter, every other week. So you're getting more continuous delivery. The fixes are coming in much faster. The changes are coming in much faster. You're able to see new innovative features getting delivered to you much faster, which probably you would have taken years to be able to even think about. It's great, but then you still need to plan for it, because you need to plan for your resources to be able to adopt to these new changes, making sure that when the changes come in, everything is still working, not just your cloud applications, but all your integrated systems are working well. Your data is flowing from your upstream, downstream systems without any issues. All that needs to be still validated, and now you have to validate it at much faster pace, being set by your cloud provider. So these are the two main things that we have seen that customers are having to adopt to when you have moved to cloud SaaS applications versus what you have been used to dealing with when you're on-prem systems. So let's talk specifically about the Oracle Continuous Delivery Model. With Oracle Continuous Delivery Model, you do have a lot of benefits, but with benefits also come new responsibilities that you need to account for. So from benefit standpoint, obviously with the cloud, you're getting continuous innovation getting pushed to you. Previously, on-prem systems, the number of changes that Oracle pushed over all these years of their EBS systems or PeopleSoft systems available, they pushed the same number of changes in just 1 year on their cloud SaaS applications. So you could see the speed with which you are getting changes and new features and innovations coming through your way is much faster than what you could do on your own. The second benefit is, though you need to adopt the change management process, you still there is a lot of predictability in terms of the timeline and schedule that that the provider is already giving you a heads up on. You know that it's going to be on a particular Friday that you need to every quarter that you need to get these changes in, and after 2 weeks it goes into production. So there's a lot of predictability that you can use to plan your processes as well. You instead of you focusing on all these new features providing to your business, you could actually focus on your core business instead of the back office systems, the ERP systems that are more repeatable and can be done through the SaaS applications. You also get fixes and improvements much faster than your on-prem systems. And last but not the least, moving to cloud is obviously a very important step towards accelerating your digital transformation. So these are all the benefits that you get with moving to cloud and the continuous delivery process that is being provided to you. But with this also comes new responsibilities, right? So the new responsibilities include you having to plan for this change, keeping up with the pace of this change, planning for all these frequent releases that are coming in, evaluating what is new and what to adopt in a much faster pace than what you were used to before. Because every quarter, if you're getting a release, then you need to understand what are the mandatory changes that you need to accept for that particular release. What are the optional changes that are coming in, that are coming in, which would be helpful for you, but you immediately don't have to adopt. You can put it off for a later time while you're evaluating the benefit of these new features to your business and whatnot. Right. So doing that evaluation, impact analysis is an important aspect of it to be able to take advantage of the cloud. What we are seeing more and more customers falling back into is they're taking in mandatory features because they don't have a choice, but then they keep putting off all these optional features that are coming in that are so beneficial for your business because you don't have time to accept those changes. You're so focused on just accepting the must-have and testing to make sure everything is looking good and putting off a lot of these new innovations behind and falling back into the routine of how on-prem systems used to be, right? Where you used to put off your patches, security changes, upgrades and all for years because you don't have time to look at those or adopt those. So though moving to cloud, if you don't adopt to these new responsibilities, you'll fall back into the same mode of what you used to do with on-prem by not accepting the new features and changes that would be extremely beneficial for your business to keep up with all those change that is coming in. And the last but not the least, doing continuous regression testing, continuous release validations every quarter is something that you need to plan for because changes change. When some new changes are getting pushed to your software, you still need to make sure that it is working for your implementation. Nothing's getting broken. Your integrations are working well. All that needs to be tested to make sure it's good because at the end of the day, these are still your critical systems. These are your either HR systems or your financial systems, supply chain. All these are critical systems where you don't want things not working after it goes into production and then you're realizing things are not working, right? So these are some of the new responsibilities that come with moving to cloud SaaS applications and adopting to these new responsibility based on the fact that there are two important things that you need to know. One is, how do you deal with the change management process with somebody else controlling a lot of things and you not having, you having the lack of control. And the second one is obviously the continuous delivery that is coming in. How do you actually take advantage of it, of moving to cloud and not fall back into your old habits of what you used to do with on-prem and putting off all the new things that are coming your way? So what are your options navigating in this new world, right? So one is you could do it all manually, whether it comes to change management process in terms of understanding the new releases coming in, reading through the release notes, figuring out what to test, testing just minimally what changes that are coming in instead of doing a regression testing. It can be done manually, but then it's more hoping and praying once it goes into production that everything looks good. As long as things are working well, all good. But the day it doesn't is when you're going to be in a firefighting mode that you don't want to deal with, because then it's kind of, you have to wait for the next release coming in, and there is no rollback options that's easy for you to deal with. The second option is you can build your own automation. You can develop automated ways of doing release validation, get a tool, get a team that can build automation. But you also have to keep in mind, it's not just building a framework and getting people who can use this framework and build your automation test cases, because the next one, the problem that you need to deal with is continuous maintenance and execution. Keep in mind, you only get 2 weeks window after your test pod is updated, and you'll only know what is working, what is not working after you start executing those tests on your updated test pod. And it is not a lot of time for you to update these test cases and put it through to feel confident that you're able to execute all the things within the stipulated 2-week window and get issues resolved and push it to production. The third option is you could subscribe to an automated service where you have a partner who will completely do the end-to-end service for you from the time the test pod is updated in terms of impact analysis of the release coming in, whether it's bug fixes, new enhancements, new features. How does it impact your implementation? What needs to be, what are the changes coming in to update your automated tests, and doing the automated regression test, not just picking and choosing few changes that are coming in, because with any software, we know that release notes always doesn't cover everything. So in order for you to get a peace of mind that everything is looking good, you could do automated regression testing to ensure that everything is working good and go into production without any issue. So these are the three options that you have that you can look into when it comes to your Oracle Cloud applications, continuous delivery that is coming through, quarterly patches that are coming your way, and how you can navigate this world seamlessly and go about your business. So I'm going to turn this over to Art for you to go through the case study and the demo, Art.
Okay, thanks, Lavanya. So we'd like to walk you through a quick case study here. Can you go to the next slide, Lavanya? So this is a case study of a US-based global insurance brokerage and risk management services firm. Very, very large company. They have operations in 33 countries. And as part of their cloud strategy, they migrated their HR systems from Oracle EBS on-prem to Oracle HCM. They did this in a phased approach. In phase one, you can see that they moved 3 modules: core HR, benefits, and compensation. And in phase two, 4 modules: payroll, time and labor, absences, and performances. We engaged with them basically during the UAT of phase one and supported them with automated testing during this phase and when it went live. So we were supporting them both as during implementation during UAT. When phase one went live, we continued to support them with production patches of phase one of those 3 core modules that they had in production, while also automating the modules that they were onboarding in phase two. So again, we were able to accommodate support during the implementation phase, and then post implementation in the release validation phase. All in all, this was a fairly large engagement. The client had over 800 HCM cloud test cases automated, including all of their personalizations across the multiple legislations. They had US, Australia, New Zealand, and UK. So this was a very successful implementation for the client. By leveraging the CloudTestr platform, they were able to meet their timelines and reduce their overall cost of testing during the implementation, and then also release validation. The benefits that they received Thank you. Was basically we were able to ensure that they had 100% test coverage and they had defect-free releases. So we were able to automate all of their test cases that they had defined for the implementation. They saw a 55% reduction in cost. And we guarantee that the release validation of the patches, once they're in production, that we can get through those within 5 days. This particular client, we see that they were able to increase their new feature adoption post go live by basically 2x. Many of the clients that we work with put off adopting new features, as Lavanya talked about, because of that continuous delivery. They put off the actual adoption of new features until they absolutely have to. This client is different because they have the test coverage and because they're utilizing the CloudTestr platform. They look at adopting new features from the onset. They don't have to worry about spending time on the validation portion because CloudTestr and the SenareTech team handle that. They focus on business critical items and enabling the new innovations that are being delivered at a very quick pace. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what CloudTestr is. It's an automated release validation for the Oracle Cloud applications. So CloudTestr is an enterprise test automation platform, right? And we deliver it as testing as a service. So what this means is that when you engage with SenareTech and CloudTestr, you're not buying a tool, so to speak. You're engaging with us as a service, and we provide the services to conduct those tests, and we provide the platform to do it. So it's automated test cases, it's test management, we provide metrics and dashboards, and we also assist in change management. Again, this is an enterprise QA platform. So it doesn't just handle Oracle Cloud applications. We support SaaS applications, we support Oracle on-prem applications, we can support standard web applications, and obviously the various integrations that occur between those systems. It is hosted on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, and it is a scriptless solution. So what I mean by that is we're not actually writing code to automate the test cases. The tool is doing that. We are capturing and configuring implementations, client-specific implementations, including their personalizations and their configurations of their Oracle implementation or their web application, for example. So it's very easy for us to develop, and it's very easy for us to execute and maintain those test cases. What the benefit is, it's a high ROI for clients, high test coverage, and high quality. We also support performance of transactional performance monitoring, right? So if, for example, with an Oracle Cloud patch, at times clients will see a slowdown in particular transactions. We monitor for that, and we alert clients to make sure that they are aware that they may have seen a performance degradation. We also validate role-based security. Many clients have specific roles that they've implemented for their implementation. And part of what we offer is to validate to make sure that those security roles have not changed with each patch release. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll start a demo. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. This is the login page, obviously. Let me get started here. So clients have access to the application and to the portal. So at any time they can log in and see what's going on with their implementation if they're using CloudTestr. So the main dashboard is basically split into 4 sections. You see test case development, and what a client would see here is only the modules that they have used. So when as part of onboarding, we set up each client with the modules that they have, and they can see the test case development in real time. The total number of test cases that are going to be automated. They can see which ones are completed or ready for review and sign off. And then during execution, they can see the same thing. They can see total number of test cases that are going to be executed for a particular release. They can see which ones have passed, which ones have failed, and which ones have yet to be executed. We also integrate with various defect tracking tools. So if a client chooses to do that, they can see the defects that are logged in real time on the dashboard as well. Okay. We do give users the ability to select by release. So if they want to see metrics that are release specific, they can do that as well. And each of these is, you can drill down see further detail. So at a high level, at a summary level, clients and end users can see the status and the completion percentages, et cetera, of the test cases that have been scripted or the test cases that have been executed. Okay. They can check what's in progress, right? They can toggle back and forth. So this is a real high-level summary dashboard view. Okay. Let's go into a test case real quick. And we'll take a look at one of those. We give users options to search by various, by the application, by module, by function, et cetera, or by keyword. I'm going to search for a particular test case here. This is a HCM hire an employee test case, an example. Okay. One of the key aspects that differentiates CloudTestr from many other applications on the market is we auto-generate documentation. So as part of the onboarding process, when we capture and configure the test cases on behalf of a client in their environment for their implementation, we're capturing screenshots along the way, right? And anytime we make an update, the same documentation gets updated. So documentation doesn't grow stale, it doesn't get old, which is one of the huge challenges normally with any QA effort, is the after the fact going back and updating test cases or documentation that may have been altered from a previous effort. So what you see here is you see the test documentation that was captured, the screenshots. This is also downloadable as a PDF. We have clients that use this as training materials, where they can basically, they download this and they provide this to new hires on how to use the system. So what you see here, and this is basically the same format for any test case that's generated out of CloudTestr. You kind of see a summary of the test, you see the screenshot, and then you see a description of the test. This description is configurable. So we can add as much data here as we'd like to support the client need. Some clients want a very detailed description. Some clients are okay with the summary level. So what you see here is pretty much the same. It's a screenshot and the test description. Okay. We provide an activity log so users can see what's going on with a test case. They can see if it's been downloaded, if it's been exported. They can see when it's been run, etc. And one of the key aspects of, if anybody has engaged in any sort of test automation in the past, test data management is huge. It's kind of the driver of a good automation suite, is having good test data management. Without it, your test cases oftentimes aren't really valid, or they're hard to maintain over a period of time. We have several options for managing test data. For smaller data sets, we can enter the data in this upper section here. If it's 1 or 2 test scenarios or test data sets, we can just enter it here. We can iterate through them. Sorry about that. As well. For example, for on-prem applications, if we have access to the database, we can query the database. If we need dynamic data, for cloud-based applications, what we do is we use the out-of-the-box Oracle reports to collect data that we can feed into the scripts. And for large data sets, we can upload test data in an Excel or a CSV file. So what this really gives us is the capability to generate, to create a single test case, for example, let's say for hire an employee. That's a single test case or test flow. We can iterate through that 10, 20, 30 times and run multiple sets of tests using a single test case, but testing various functionality based on the data that's driving the test case. So it gives us a capability to provide a lot of coverage with a minimum number of tests. In the run history, we see the actual tests, when they've been run, the result of the test, where it was run, and when it was run. And again, the test data is auto-generated as well. So I'll show you that in a second. But what you see here is you see the example, the metrics of the test, when it was run, where it was run, the status of it, the total execution time. If there are any failed steps, those are called out initially, along with a screenshot and a reason, or what we believe to be the reason, so that users don't have to go hunting for the failure. Part of also what we offer as our service is, if there is a failed test, we do an initial triage of it. So users don't have to hunt through documentation to figure out or go try to recreate it. We help support that as well. Okay. And again, documentation is downloadable in a PDF format with the execution results. Any failed steps are called out in the beginning. The upper section here is the test, basically test validations, the status, and then associated screenshots. And then if we scroll all the way down to the bottom, basically we show every step that's within the test case, the time it took to run that step, and the result. Okay. This, a lot of clients we actually have use this to supply for their audit, their internal audits that are required as part of all their release validations. They can use this documentation to support those efforts, taking another item off of their plate when it comes to audit. They also use it for external audits as well. We have the capability to create test sets. A test set is gives us the ability to string together individual tests into a long test, basically an end-to-end type of flow, and create dependencies between those. So we'll give you a quick example. We'll set up a new test set. The test sets, the test cases in a test set can be run in parallel, or they can be run sequentially. And we employ a simple drag and drop technique here. And when we would configure these two tests would be run in parallel. And then these two would be run in sequence. So basically what would be required here is test case 5814 would have to complete, and it would feed data to 5812, for example, right? So we have a lot of capabilities here to do end-to-end testing, integration type testing via the test set functionality. Okay. We also have the ability to schedule releases. We can look at a release review overview, for example, where we can see metrics at a release level. So a lot of functionality within the tool, and users have access to this. At any time they can go in, like I said earlier, they can go in and they can view test case development, test case execution metrics, etc. Okay. Lavanya, can you go back to the presentation? So what are some of the differentiators for CloudTestr? The first thing we like to call it is we're actually the only automation platform that's certified by Oracle. CloudTestr is available on the Oracle Marketplace. There are no other automation tools that are available on the Oracle Marketplace. So that gives us, we have a very close relationship with Oracle. And part of our relationship is we're actually we're their release validation partner. So we have a very close relationship. We work with them and understand the new changes that are coming in. So it gives us a bit of a leg up. We have pre-built test libraries for most of the applications as well. So we can bring that knowledge, that experience, and that pre-built test library to any engagement. Again, this is a platform as a service, and it's subscription and consumption based. So clients are only paying for what they need. So there's no need for a client to onboard or hire SMEs, tool-specific SMEs like a Selenium tester or a UFT tester. We bring that experience to the table with every engagement. Again, we talked about the pre-built test libraries for Oracle Cloud Apps. We offer a payroll data validation self-service tool. This gives clients the ability to do a data validation of their payroll files, and it is self-service so that they can run it whenever they need to run it. We provide quality metrics dashboards. We have automated test data management. We talked about it a little bit during the demo, the importance of automating and managing that test data as part of your automation suite. Because we have subject matter experts and test engineers who we bring to every engagement, our ability to onboard a new client is normally within about 4 to 6 weeks, and we basically can get through any execution of a release validation for your patch release within 5 business days. We handle data security of PII data. We also have those auto health check routines that we talked about. That's the process slowdowns or security breakdowns. We're looking for that during every engagement, and we alert users if there is a breakdown there. So there's no guessing when it comes to security. Are my roles secure? Did anything change with my admin roles versus my basic user roles? And a lot of times when users have a process slowdown, They don't see it because they're doing manual testing. We see it because we're measuring every test execution. Another key feature is the auto generation of the documentation, the test documentation. That's both the pre-execution documentation and the results files, which are downloadable. Many clients put those on their SharePoint or their wiki, again, and they can use that to support their audits. They can refer their audit teams directly to that SharePoint or that wiki and say, if you want to know what happened in 19D, please check here. All of the execution results are there for you. And lastly, integrations. Integration testing is huge. A lot of organizations tend to forego that. They'll do integration testing with only the critical apps. We can do integration testing for clients, pretty much any inbound, any outbound integration. We can help support the validation of that. Okay. Next slide. So we're about 10:35 here. I guess we can open it up for Q&A. I see that there is one question from, is it Jitendra, in the webinar chat. So if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll go ahead and answer those. So Lavanya, the first question is, can we do complete end-to-end testing with this application?
Yes, we can do end-to-end testing. Art has shown the test set capabilities that we have. So we can group test cases with dependencies. So we can string together a set of test cases and are able to execute the whole flow without any manual intervention. For example, if you want to run a complete procure to pay process or order to cash process or hire to rehire process, we can run them individual test cases for testing the individual functionality, but we can also do the complete end-to-end flow of the procure to pay, where we are creating the purchase order and processing it and going through towards the end till the GL process and all. So we can actually do that with output of the first test case becoming input to the second test case and so on and so forth, so that there is no manual intervention required as we are going through the whole end-to-end testing as well. This also includes any integrations as well. If we have to run an API call or fetch some information through an FTP call or run a batch job and then take that as inputs to run through the same through your application, we'll be able to do that as well without any manual intervention.
Another question from Jitendra. It says, suppose after creating an order in Fusion and receiving other application, like integration, how can we do this? So Jitendra, are you asking? Go ahead, Lavanya.
So are you talking about I'm assuming you're talking about the outbound integrations from your cloud applications to any other system? If that is the case, then the same way we run the transaction in the cloud application, and then whatever the output of that, whether it's a file that needs to be taken and processed through another system, we'll be able to validate that particular transaction. If you have access to the third-party system, then we can process it through that and check it. If not, we can at least validate it and simulate it to the point where we are checking that particular integration itself.
Jitendra, does that answer the question? And I'm trying to see if we can unmute the lines so that folks can.
Okay.
So yes, correct. The output from another application is XML. We are receiving to cloud application for receiving. So I believe you answered the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? There might be one more, Art. Can you check?
I don't see it yet. Looks like Jitendra is good. He said no more questions from his side. Thank you. Any other questions about CloudTestr, about applications it supports, how we engage with clients?
Or in general, any Oracle Cloud journeys, do you have any specific questions? No other questions? I saw something pop up.
One question. Here's a question real quick. It says Oracle has its own test automation platform, Oats. How is CloudTestr better than that platform?
So Oats works for the on-prem applications, not for the Oracle Cloud applications. It doesn't work really well for the cloud applications, but it works really well on the on-prem system like EBS or PeopleSoft or others.
And then
one of the challenges with the Oracle Cloud applications is that the maintenance has been a challenge with the tools in the market, because you get very small window to be able to maintain and execute the tests. And though you might be able to get automation done through other tools in the market, maintenance has become a bit of a challenge, because you don't see the change coming in until it hits your test pod, and by the time it hits your test pod, your clock starts.
We have another question.
Sorry, was there a question? Yeah.
Yeah, there's another question. Any updates on VBCS and CECS?
I'm not sure I understand. Are you talking about PBCS?
Yeah, it looks like that's from Hari. Hari, can you elaborate a little bit in terms of specifically what you're looking for?
Yeah, so hi, this is Haripriya. I want to know if we can have any further sessions on Visual Builder Cloud Service and content experience, if possible.
It does support all cloud applications, Haripriya. I don't think we have specifically done this particular one, but if it is a cloud-based application, we'll be able to support it.
Okay.
Another question that came in, Lavanya. So for every 3 months we're upgrading, and every time for regression we are keeping more efforts. Basically, with this application, can we reduce our manual efforts? And the short answer is yes, you can reduce your manual efforts by quite a bit.
It's not only reduce. We have some customers who have completely eliminated doing things manually, since it's more from doing the impact analysis onwards of the changes coming in to updating the tests and executing the tests, and all are done through automation. From customer standpoint, the involvement usually during quarterly patches is more or less to review the results, to provide a sign-off, and provide any clarifications when it comes to any failures. If the failures warrant logging of an SR, or any fixes that needs to be done if any personalization is broken. It's more clarifications on the failures to log defects is where customers are involved in. But when it comes to doing manual testing itself, it pretty much eliminates the need to do anything manually once you subscribe to the service.
And one more question, does this application work for Fusion and EBS?
Yes, it does. It works for all Fusion apps, whether it's HCM, ERP, PM, PVCS, all different types of Fusion apps, as well as for Oracle EBS as well. So we do support several customers that actually have both EBS and Fusion. There are some customers who have moved some application to Fusion, but some applications modules are still sitting in on-prem systems. So we do support both.
Yeah, hi, this is Jitendra. So as you're saying, like this application works for the Fusion and the EBS. Just want to check with you, like from the Fusion side, we are using the web application pages, and from the EBS side, we are using the DTK forms. So if I use this application, I can do it from the EBS and as well as for the Fusion both, right?
That's right.
Okay. I want to check with some of the integration side. Like as I explained you in the chart, I will just brief you in like in 10 seconds. Suppose like you're saying like this works for the integration as well. Like here my question is like when I'm creating some orders in the EBS application or the Fusion application, and the orders are going to the other application with some of our third-party tools for the like we are using some XML files and it's going to the other applications. And from the other application, we are coming back to the our EBS or the Fusion applications. Here, how our this automation will help us? How it is going to capture the
Right. So,
EBS and the XML files both?
sure. So since it is an enterprise platform that supports all different technologies and application stack, the way we do this is, let's say that we have to first run the transaction through Fusion, generate the XML file, then take that XML file and process it through your third-party system. If you have access to the third-party system, then we can do that process, and then whatever output is coming out of that third-party system, and then we need to, whether it's a FTP file or a API or whatever it is, then you need to get that processed through your EBS system. So all that is tied as an end-to-end flow, and we are able to create those individual tests and connect them through the grouping process. So we have the dependent test cases where we run each of these and then go to the next one, taking the input from the previous one and go to the next one and so on and so forth, right? So that functionality is available in the platform to give us the ability to do the end-to-end flow. And since it's not just a platform that works only on web application or on-prem application, or on integrations, right? So you have the single platform that is able to support all different types of applications that enables you to do end-to-end automation without manual intervention as much as possible. Obviously, we need to have access to these systems. We need to know these integration points, what type of integrations it is. All that information has to be gathered from you to be able to set it up. But as a capability, it comes with the capability.
Perfect. Thanks. And just a last question. And how does it works for the performance and the load testing? I mean, like suppose when like from I'm just generally like if any user is running any one of the report, just like a one report, but the same report, like if any like 1,000 users are running at the same time, this is one. Like or else like 10,000 items are loading into my systems. Like how does this application work from the performance and the loading side?
So from a performance standpoint, we are not putting load and checking it. What we do is we do check the transaction level performance. One, if it's cloud applications, you're not allowed to put load. Your cloud provider will restrict you from putting any load on the system. It's more of SLAs that they would provide that it would work within a stipulated period of time. But in terms of load testing, we can provide that separately as a service if it is your on-prem systems. But for cloud applications, we do provide transaction level performance. We track it and we share the details with you. If we see any performance degradation over a period of time, every time we run the test, if we see something from previous patch to this patch, we will notify you that some of the transactions performance has degraded and you might want to take a look at it or log an SR with Oracle.
All right, sure, got it. Thank you very much.
Sure. Any other questions?
There's a question about Oracle making newsfeed compulsory for its cloud apps in 2020. Can we test that, and do you know when it's going to be?
Yes, we can test that. That is a really good point. I know with newsfeed coming in and becoming mandatory, if this is actually a good time for you to consider looking at automating your whole release validation so that next time something like this comes up, you don't have to worry about accepting these changes and keep pushing it off. We can actually help you with automating the whole newsfeed changes and providing a complete baseline regression suite as well as an output of that engagement, so that moving forward, anytime you're doing quarterly patches, you can do it through automation process. So we can definitely help you with that, and we can do that pretty fast. I know that it becomes mandatory. You can still turn it off for 20A, but it becomes mandatory, I believe, for 20B. So within this period, like Art said, we can get you up and running with automation in 4 to 6 weeks usually. So by the time newsfeed becomes mandatory, you should be able to have the testing automated and supported when you turn on newsfeed, so that you don't have to put a lot of manual effort from your team to adopt newsfeed UI changes. We also have some packages that we have developed for newsfeed. If there is interest, you can reach out to us. Either email us at cloudtestr@sonoratech.com or go to our website cloudtestr.com and provide us your details so we can reach out to you. We also are on Oracle Marketplace. You could visit us there as well.
Any additional questions, either in the chat, the Q&A session, online? Lines are unmuted, so if you just want to shout out a question, you're more than free to do so.
Okay then. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. We'll post this online and you'll get the recorded video as well.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We appreciate the time.